So, per usual, actually, let's all start in just a seat first. So, choosing, if you like, to sit on the edge of a pillow or a blanket or on the floor, and coming into either a cross-legged position, or you could sit on your knees like this. And finding a comfortable spot to place your hands on your knees, face down for more grounding, face up for more receiving. And invite you to either shut down your gaze, lower your gaze, or shut down your eyes, closing your eyes. Taking a moment to collect all of yourself here, welcoming back all parts of you into this moment. Beginning just to notice the cadence of your natural breath without any need to change it, just noticing what it feels like to be breathed in this moment. Feeling your sit bones grounded and rooted in whatever's below you, maybe a pillow, the earth. Allowing your legs to release into the support just a little bit more. And from this strong base, this rooted base, you might invite your spine to lengthen up a little bit more towards the sky, feeling a little bit more space in between every vertebrae, feeling your crown go closer towards the stars. Inviting yourself to lean just a little bit back. That can help us to kind of come into a place of feeling a little bit more ease. So maybe you just shift your posture slightly more back, like you're almost leaning against a support. Checking in with your breath again as your posture has expanded and aligned, and seeing how maybe your breath has also changed. Maybe it feels a little bit deeper, slower. Maybe you don't really notice a difference and you're just noticing that. The theme of our class today is really around presence, which is really what so much of yoga is about, but specifically the quote that my teacher often says of, when you nurture where you are, you get to where you want to be. So can we give ourselves permission to be here now, letting go of any anticipation, letting go of any strong desires, and allow ourselves to be here now and allow ourselves to receive what is coming in our highest desire without gripping, without clinging, without forcing ourselves to get somewhere. Giving ourselves a permission to be here now, and feeling in gratitude of all that is here now, and welcoming and being open to receiving what is coming in each present passing moment. Take a deep breath here. Exhaling out any tension or excess things from the day that aren't serving us here now. Again, another deep inhale and exhale. Maybe you're sighing on the exhale. One more deep breath here. Fluttering the lips on the exhale. Slowly, we can open our gaze, and I really invite you to move really slowly and fluidly. Maybe you imagine like you're moving through honey or something really thick as you move through the different postures today. And allowing the transitions to also be a part of the posture and the class. So we'll come into our first posture of the day, which is our supine butterfly, which we often start with. And so we'll place props, maybe a rolled up blanket or 2 pillows. We'll nestle our hips against this prop, and then we'll slowly release our spine onto the prop, allowing for some opening in the thoracic cavity. Arms can come out wide. And always an option to kind of play around if you want to move a little bit further down from your prop, finding just a good position where you feel supported. And if at any point something feels painful or tingly coming out of the posture, and maybe finding more support with props. And then we'll bring the soles of the feet together, knees out wide, if that feels all right for you. Or also an option to just have our legs out long. And if you've been practicing with me for a while, you might want to explore for some new sensations. So maybe you walk your feet out a little bit further away from your pelvis than you usually do. Or maybe you bring your heels closer towards your groin. So exploring different parts of our body to help unravel different areas of fascia and connective tissue. And as we find that edge, that position that feels like our point to stay, we bring our awareness back into our body. We feel into the soles of our feet, touching one another. Maybe you notice certain areas of your feet are touching. Maybe you notice part of your feet are open to the air. Maybe there's a difference in temperature amongst the bottom of the soles of your feet. Bringing your awareness to your calves, your knees. Noticing what the temperature of the air around your knees and your calves feels like. Maybe you feel the clothing that wraps your legs. Maybe you feel where it starts, where it ends. Bringing your internal gaze up your body towards your hips. Feeling the hard, sturdy ground below you. Inviting your body to nestle into that support a little bit heavier. Moving your internal awareness up your spine. Maybe bringing your awareness to places in your chest where you're feeling more expansive, you're feeling more spacious. Maybe there's places that feel tight, constricted. Breathing deeply into those spaces. Moving your awareness into your arms. Heavy, supported. Noticing where you feel the earth below you on your arms, maybe the back of your hands, your fingers, forearm, elbow. Feeling into the opening of your chest, your neck, and the support behind your head. Inviting your skull to relax, inviting your head to melt into the support below it. Checking in with your jaw and your face. Visualizing the tension dripping off, returning to the earth. Maybe your jaw parts slightly. Tongue releases to the top of your mouth. Allowing your eyes to sink back into your eye sockets. And returning to the rise and the fall, the sensation of the breath. Getting really curious about that minute point where the inhale turns into the exhale. And that really specific point where the exhale turns into the inhale. Feeling where in your body while you're in this posture you feel the sensation of your breath. Where does your body most feel the change in the inhale and the exhale? Maybe it's a sensation in the belly. Maybe a sensation of the chest opening and constricting. Maybe it's where the air enters through the nostrils. And allowing your awareness to hover in that place. Inviting your body to release one more layer into the earth as you take your biggest, deepest breath of the day. And slowly, easefully, we'll use our hands on the outsides of our thighs to bring our knees up towards each other if knees are out wide. We'll roll over to one side, removing the props from underneath us. And we'll come back onto our back. And we have a moment in between our postures, which is called the rebound, where the chi in the body, the energy, the blood flow is able to release. And so here we can either find stillness with our feet flat on the ground and our knees up, or we can find some gentle internal and external rotation at the hips, windshield wiping our knees from side to side. checking in with your body of what feels best for you in this moment. We'll bring our knees into our chest and give ourselves a really big squeeze. Taking a pause, bringing into an awareness of something that you're proud of yourself and giving yourself some love of something that you did today that is really in alignment with where you're going and maybe your intention for the day. Maybe it's just a good job. Something specific is always nice. And then we're going to come into seated, so we can either come onto our side and push ourselves up, or we can place our hands behind our thighs and rock on our spine a couple times and come up to a seat. And so now we'll be coming into what we call saddle, and this can be a more sensational posture for the knees, but there's many options here. So first option, what it's going to be like is we will be come to sitting on our knees like this, and option if you are feeling able to sit between your heels. So turn this way, my knees are together, my heels are out wide, and I'm actually sitting, my hips are sitting on the ground. And if your hips aren't reaching the ground, you can place a prop under your hips here, so the feet are still out wide and the knees are closer together. They don't need to be touching necessarily. So finding support in your hips, being rooted either on a prop or on the ground. And if at any point you feel any uncomfortable sensations in your knees, don't go any further. I'll give you a different option. Also an option to stay right there. And if you're looking for more, you'll start to slowly walk your hands behind you. And you can do this if you're also sitting on a prop, totally fine. And we're looking for some opening in the quads and the hip flexors. So once you start to feel some healthy sensation here, you'll find your just right point of edge. And maybe you initially feel an edge and then it continues to open and you decide to go deeper. Staying here on the hands with the upright chest, really great spot to be. Or maybe lowering down onto the forearms, inviting more opening for the hip flexors or the quads. And of course, if your body has this opening, allowing yourself to fully come onto the ground. Option, if you're on the ground, to reach arms above you, holding on to opposite elbows for a full extension in the front side body. And if that's feeling good, staying in that position, the other alternative here would be to come onto your belly into a Sphinx position. Shoulders stacked over elbows. So still having some healthy extension through the hip flexors and an option to bend through the knees. Both are great options, finding what works for you. And once you find your edge, coming to a place of stillness. And if you're feeling any pinching in the low back, that would be a sign to maybe come out of the posture a little bit. Option 2, if you still feel pinching while you're in Sphinx, to fully lower into a more crocodile position, resting your forehead on your hands. And we'll be only here for about one more minute, as it can be kind of an intense pose. And bringing your awareness to where you feel the most sensation here and inviting your breath to travel to that place to allow a gentle opening. Bringing your awareness to the breath, inhale, watching it turn into an exhale, turning into an inhale, allowing yourself to get curious about this rhythm. Taking 3 more deep breaths here. If you're leaning back on your hands, maybe you bring the back of your shoulder blades together to puff out your chest a little bit more here, opening through the heart space. Maybe your gaze looks up towards the sky. And if you're on your belly, I'll invite you to stay there for just a moment. And if you are in the saddle position, I'll invite you to slowly come out of it, maybe coming up onto your elbows first, gently pushing yourself up to a tall spine. Bringing your heels and your knees together, removing a prop. And now we're going to move into a child's pose. So if you're on your belly, you would bring your knees out wide, pushing your hips back towards your feet. Option to have a belly down child's pose. So knees are out wide, about the width of your mat. Toes are touching, and we're draping our chest towards the ground. And if your knees are needing a little bit more release, there's an option to do this on our backs as well. So we can come into our backs, we can bring actually a prop on the back of our hamstrings and allow for our knees to just be over our body, and our arms can come up above our head. So finding what position your body is calling. Either a belly down child's pose or reverse child's pose. And in the belly down child's pose, there's always an option to place a prop on your heels to give you a little bit more support and take a little bit of the pressure off of your knees. So lots of options. Don't hesitate to try something on, and if it doesn't fit, to put it aside. Taking this opportunity to check in with how we are communicating with ourselves. So our communication with others starts with how we communicate to ourselves. Are we being gentle and kind with compassion to ourselves? Are we talking to ourselves as we would talk to a friend who needs our support? Knowing that this book, Desmond Tutu, in this book he says, language does not only describe reality, Language creates the reality it describes. So choosing the words of the reality we want to experience. Being intentional with every word we speak to others, to ourselves. You allow yourself to follow just one round of breath. Any moment that you've realized you've checked out is a great moment to practice mindfulness of returning back to what is now, returning back the sensations of the breath. So instead of shaming ourselves or having guilt or other thoughts when we notice we're lost in thought or thinking about the future or the past, celebrating those moments when we realize we've been somewhere else and bringing ourselves back to now. Taking one really deep breath here. We'll slowly put our awareness into our hands, walking our hands under our shoulder, coming up to a seat. We'll roll onto our side, releasing our legs out in front of us for a moment. And we can place our hands back behind us and shake out the legs side to side. You can kind of bring one leg and roll the ankle around. Roll the ankle around on the other foot. And we're gonna find our tall seat again. So if you'd like to place something under your hips, I know that allows me to feel like I can sit tall with a neutral pelvis. So coming back into our tall seat, sitting on the knees together is always an option as well. And we're gonna do just a handful of rounds of what we call Nadi Shodhana. And Nadi Shodhana, which I've taught in classes before, but just to review, is alternate nostril breathing. And this really allows us to find balance in our masculine and our feminine, in our yin and our yang, and also balances out our hormones. And so this is a practice that's been passed down through so many different lineages, and so many of the gurus like practice this every day and swear by it. So just like a really simple thing, but also very profound. And so how we'll do it is we'll kind of make like a hang loose sign with our left hand, and we'll place our thumb on our left nostril and our pinky on our right nostril. And so we'll first close our right nostril with our pinky, and we'll inhale through the left nostril. And we'll exhale through the left nostril. Then inhaling through the left nostril again. Gently placing the thumb on the left nostril and breathing out of the right nostril. Breathing in through the right nostril. Placing the pinky and exhaling out through the left nostril. Inhale through the left nostril. Exhale out through the right nostril. Inhale right. Exhale left. Continuing with that breathing pattern with your own breath. Gently closing off each nostril, allowing the subtle energies to continue to move. And inviting, when we exhale out through the left nostril, we can imagine and release any extra stagnation, any extra yin energies. Our left side of our body is more the feminine yin side. So when we're exhaling out that left nostril, we're exhaling any stagnation, any feelings of feeling lethargic or too slow, too heavy. And when we inhale, we're cleansing the channel, bringing in new energies of receiving, new energies of feeling yummy, pleasureful, grounded. And when we're exhaling out the right nostril, we're releasing any extra tension, any extra grasping. And inhaling as we cleanse that channel, inviting in purpose, inviting in vision, inviting in driving force.
Tall front, some brown.
Taking one more round and bringing both your hands to your lap when you feel complete. And now we're going to come into caterpillar. So it still might be helpful to leave your hips up on a prop. Caterpillar is basically a forward fold. So we're lengthening out our legs in front of us, finding some support under our tailbone can be helpful. Just so that we maintain a neutral pelvic tilt, so just on an edge of a blanket or something. And we'll be coming forward, but before we come forward, checking in with our knees and knowing that if at any point it feels like we're hyperextending behind the knees, we can always place fists under the knees or another prop or pillow. And so first, just inviting you to slowly come forward and feel that really initial first edge. And of course, no worries about where that first edge is. It's really just like getting familiar with like, oh yeah, right there, that's where I start to feel just a tiny bit of resistance or maybe a lot of resistance. Allowing the breath to ground you in that space. Allowing yourself to check in with your feet, your ankles, and releasing any extra tension there. And then if you feel like it, you might walk your hands a little bit more forward, finding a deeper edge, or maybe you'll stay where you're at. Gaze just comes in front of you, keeping your spine in a natural position. And breathing into your spine of where you're most feeling the sensation in this posture. Opening up through the back fascial line, which runs from the toes all the way to the front of your eyebrows. So while we're in this posture, anywhere on that line where it's most tight and woven, you might feel sensation. And knowing that even though you feel sensation in one part of your body, you're also unraveling that whole fascial line. So the benefit of postures is not only are you opening through that space where you feel the sensation, but you're opening through that entire fascial line, opening for more space in the entire back body of yourself. Be allowing your gaze to close down, going back inside yourself to heighten the awareness of your sensation. Inviting yourself to lengthen your inhalation, your exhalation by one extra beat. Bringing on the parasympathetic relaxation chemistry. Giving yourself a moment to check in with why you chose to show up for class today. Maybe it's to experience more ease. Maybe it's to experience deeper knowing of your body. Maybe it's how after you practice, you notice a different impact on the people around you. And one of the reasons we focus on breath so much in yoga and breath work and all these different practices is that when we are aware and deepen our relationship to our breath, we're more able to be in a state of choice instead of a state of reaction. So any time where we maybe feel ourselves getting into a more activated state, when we return to our breath, we're able to check in with ourselves, come back to our center, and move from a place of intentionality in terms of choice and what we're truly wanting to offer, share, respond. We'll slowly push ourselves up to a tall spine. We'll remove our props out from underneath of us. And we'll move back onto our backs. Pausing in a Shavasana for a moment. Noticing the sensations of stillness or sensations of subtle movement as you take a pause in this position. Our final posture of class will be a twist. So we can bring our knees up, our soles of our feet to the ground. One option of a twist is to shift the hips slightly towards the left and allow the knees to drop down to the right. Arms are out wide in a T, and we can bring our gaze as well the opposite direction of our knees. Also an option to straighten out the bottom leg, allowing for a deeper twist, bringing the top leg across the body as we twist and look in the opposite direction. Also an option to place a prop under the leg coming across our body if that allows us to find more ease in this posture. Twists are really healthy for detoxification, allowing for new, fresh, vital energy to come into our spine, into our bodies. Taking 3 more breaths here. Engaging through the core, and on an inhale, coming back into center. Slowly coming back. Bringing your hips back into the center. We'll come into the other side. So maybe you pick up your hips and shift them slightly towards the right as your knees fall to the left. Arms are out wide. Option again to lengthen out the lower leg and bring the top leg across the body even more. Opportunity to place a prop under the top knee for more support. Gaze comes across, if it feels comfortable in your neck, to look the opposite direction of the knees. When you nurture where you are, you get to where you want to go. Taking 3 more breaths in this twist here. And on an inhale, engaging through the core as you come back to center. Bringing the knees into the chest. Re-rocking yourself side to side. Anything that your body is feeling called to do before moving into our final Shavasana. Maybe you take a moment of a happy baby, grabbing either outside of the shins or outside of the ankles or the feet. Rocking side to side if that calls you. Any other postures are welcome. And then when you're feeling complete, we will find a long, lengthened out position, allowing feet to be wide, arms to be out wide, taking space on your mat. Maybe placing a blanket over you. Yin is a cooling practice. You might notice you're feeling colder after practicing for longer. Also, option to place a blanket or a pillow underneath your knees to allow your low back to release. Option to place a prop on your hips to allow for more grounding. And then in our Shavasana, we let go of all practice. We come into beingness, come into receiving from the earth. Beginning to return to your breath, taking a deep breath in and out. Inviting subtle movement into your fingers and your toes. Maybe you take a full body stretch, reaching arms up above. Keeping the gaze either down or closed, we'll roll onto one of our sides, coming into a fetal position, resting the head on the upper arm. Taking another pause here. And then using the support of our hands, we'll push ourselves up into a seated position. And invitation to either bring both hands on top of each other on your heart, or hands together in a prayer position in front of your heart. Taking a moment to honor yourself for showing up today. What an honorable act of self-care. And really, self-care is quite pivotal, as when we take care of ourselves, we're able to show up in our highest ability to connect with people in a healthy way. Taking a moment to send out this care to anyone in your field or a group of people in your field that you're wanting to share a little bit of this love, this care, this peace, this ease to. Imagining it circling them in a golden light. And a gratitude for our community, our clinic of women, of being open to supporting each other as we are here supporting so many others. I am so grateful to guide you in this experience and so grateful for this container. And I wish you a magical evening and hope to see you soon. Namaste.